out there in podcast land. It's Wednesday, June the 5th, and you know what that means. It's time to smoke 'em if you got 'em, because you got yourself a brand new smoke-filled and jam-packed episode of the Doctor's Orders podcast with the 512 Foot Doctor. The podcast where I meet with some of the most creative and influential people that I know to share stories from the ride of life. As always, I'm your host, the 512 Foot Doctor, coming at you live and direct from the one and only studio of Life or Death. If you're a returning freak or geek, thank you very much for checking back into our regularly scheduled appointment. And if you're new here, tuning in for the first time, welcome to the Freaks and Geeks family. Freaks and Geeks, it's heating up out there. Like Elaine Bennis would say, it's getting hot and heavy. Make sure you're tuning into this podcast throughout the summer, because we got some very special episodes this week included. In the future as well, we got some great guests coming in, a lot of returning buddies as well, and a lot of returning themes, reoccurring themes that we've had in the past. But that's enough foreshadowing of the episodes to come. I want to pay this week's episode and this week's guest as much respect as possible, because in all honesty, I really enjoyed the time that I had to chat with this week's guest. But before we get to that, I do want to bring to light that we had our first text-in message from the podcast hotline. Remember that number, Freaks and Geeks, 512-900-9226. And that question that we received is going to be featured on this week's episode of the podcast with this week's guest as well. And that could be you as well. Don't be too timid. Don't be too afraid. Text us your information. Call in as well. I want to get some audio calls in here also, but I love anything that's coming through this podcast hotline. Hit us with any question you got. It can pertain to anything in the world. Doesn't necessarily have to pertain to podcasting or my guest specifically. Any question you got out there, hit us up. 512-900-9226. Call in or text, and your question will be answered on the podcast. One more little bit of information that I want to share. I had the privilege to host a 1-hour radio program in Lockhart, Texas last week on KLKT 107.9 FM Radio Lockhart. That was Sunday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. I hosted a blues, funk, and jazz hour. All right, Freaks and Geeks? So I got another little project I'm working on. It's called Controlled Chaos on KLKT 107.9. Do me a favor. Chime in on that. Check in on that. Again, Sunday, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. on the radio. If you're in the listening area, 107.9 FM. If you're not in the listening area, I'm also going to drop a link in the description to the KLKT website, and you can listen live there at any point in time. But I would greatly appreciate it if you check into Controlled Chaos, Sundays, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Spinning only vinyl and only CDs at the moment. So check that out. Again, Controlled Chaos on KLKT 107.9. Freaks and Geeks, on this week's episode of the podcast, we have hip-hop producer, DJ, and audio engineer joining us from the furthest location any guest has ever checked in to the podcast. Hailing all the way from Dublin, Ireland. Freaks and Geeks, put your hands together and welcome DJ M-1. M-1, what's going on? What you been getting into today?
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a collaboration, how I got turned on to you. You have a collaboration with Baby Astro. Can you tell us how that partnership and collaboration came to be?
Yeah, no problem. So basically, like everything I do, it's all through the internet. So the power of the internet, power of social media, email, and all that kind of stuff. So I discovered his music through another guy, a guy called Vingtor the Ruler, and they did a collaborative album together, and I heard his stuff. And I really liked the way that he flowed and his kind of rhyme style. Mm-hmm. And he had that kind of 90s flavor, which is what I'm all about. And he was a little bit different to what I normally kind of work with. I have worked with a lot of New York kind of, even if they're not from New York, that kind of East Coast, very 90s kind of style. Yeah. And he was a little bit different. And I liked, he kind of was a bit more he has a bit more funk to what he kind of does, and I was kind of looking to do something a bit more like that. And so I hit him up and said, "Would you do a track?" I was working on a solo album, and he was like, "Yeah, no problem, send it on." So I sent him the track, and he basically sent me back what he did. And at the time, the actual beat that I sent him was completely different. And he sent me back what he did, and basically the beat didn't do justice to what he had done. So basically, I remixed the beat into what I thought was more suitable for his style, and that's what we came up with. And I've had out of all of the tracks that I've done, that track kind of gets me the most feedback from kind of across the board from everybody. People that aren't into hip hop, people that are. It's a bit more, it's a bit more upbeat, a bit more funky, whereas my other stuff is a bit more hardcore. So,
yeah,
so it's something a little bit different. So, yeah, that's kind of how it worked. And that's how I met him.
Yeah, man, I dig that. Have you seen his latest? He does a lot of scavenger hunt stuff. He's working on a current project, and I just love. That's how I got put onto him as well on the power of the internet. I just noticed a bunch of scavenger hunt stuff that he was doing, a lot of his own personal tapes, personal pressings, and just art styles on CDs. And I think he even put out I think it was a CD, but in a DVD case. Very cinematic approach to it and style to it, and I really dig that. I noticed you and him share an interest in cartoons and just the superhero, Marvel, old school Marvel and DC heroes of the 80s and 90s. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, he a lot of his artwork would be kind of hand drawn stuff, and so would mine. And to be honest with you, it's not that I'm a massive comic book fan. I would have kind of read comics when I was a kid, but it'd be more 2000 AD. I don't know if you heard of that with Judge Dredd, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it was more alternative kind of stuff. But I made a decision when I was kind of starting to do my own albums that I wanted everything kind of hand drawn, regardless of what it is, just because it makes it more individual.
Definitely.
I can do graphic design and stuff like that, but I it's nothing compared to somebody who hand draws stuff. So yeah, I have noticed that as well. I think he probably is, probably similar to myself as well in that regard. And he also does art himself he's kind of posting his pictures and stuff. So
he does.
He's handy.
He's definitely big on the whole Tex Avery, Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny-esque art style too. Yeah. He really gets down on that. I appreciate that. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about the origin of M-1. Where'd you grow up? Tell us about the country you're from, the state, city, town. Fill us in on that information.
Yeah. So basically, I was born in Dublin, which is the capital of Ireland, but I lived in kind of the next county to it, so just down the coast, called Wicklow. And I grew up in a place called Bray, which is a seaside town. So I've always kind of lived beside the sea. So it's very similar to, it'd be like Coney Island in New York, that kind of thing.
I got you.
So yeah, I grew up there, and I kind of lived in a couple of different places. But it's very kind of, Ireland is very small for a start. It's smaller than any. I don't know if there is even a state that would be the same size of it in America. But for instance, it takes 6 hours to get from the east to the west coast in the plane. Whereas it takes 6 hours to get from Ireland to New York from on plane. Yeah. So we're quite out of the way, and we're quite small. And but there was always kind of Ireland is very green. It's a very kind of luscious green kind of place, and it's a nice place to grow up. It's very kind of easygoing, and but hip hop in regards to that always seemed very kind of far away, if you know what I mean.
No, I understand.
But we do have a good hip hop kind of scene here now, though, in Ireland.
That's good.
It's pretty big.
That's good. Yeah. What about your family? What about your your dad, your mom? You got any siblings or anything like that?
Yeah, so I have two older sisters, and I have my mother and my father. My mother was an art teacher, actually, so that's what she did. She was an artist and an art teacher, and then my father was a builder. But he was very into music, actually, and so was my mum, and they had kind of record collections and stuff like that. So that would have kind of influenced me a lot.
Nice.
And then I have a very big family on my mother's side, so I have a lot of cousins. I have like 30 cousins or something like that, and I'm close to the kind of the younger ages of the cousins, but they are all kind of like, I have a cousin who is a DJ and a producer as well, and he would have done kind of like dance music and stuff like that, and he has a studio and loads of gear and all that kind of stuff, and he would be, I mean, he's probably about 10 or 15 years older than me. And then I have another cousin around his age as well, and he was into music and stuff like that as well, but he's actually an editor now. He works for like a TV station over here and stuff like that. So those two would have been quite a big influence on me in regards to kind of music production, and kind of, they would have shown me little bits and given me bits of gear and stuff like that when I was growing up. So, yeah, that's kind of my family.
Excellent, man. Very artistic family. That's cool. What did your dad build?
He was literally a builder, like buildings and stuff like that. He had his own company. He was from a family of builders. So basically on my father's side, it's literally builders all the way back. And then on my mother's side, it's more kind of teachers and more artistic, as you say, and stuff like that. So teachers and, yeah, kind of like a lot of people in film and stuff like that.
All right.
Yeah. But my father, he started off kind of building and stuff like that, but he moved to the UK. My parents split up when I was younger, so my father moved to the UK. Basically, we had a recession here in the 80s when I was a young fella. So basically, in order to make money, he had to move to the UK. So he kind of ended up living there. I used to go over and stay with him and stuff like that, but he would have worked on pretty big projects over there, you know, like offices for British Airways and things like that.
Oh,
huge
I gotcha.
buildings. Yeah. So, big kind of projects. He became project manager. That was kind of his title. So he would oversee kind of all the, you know, the running of the kind of building sites and things like that.
Do you have a favorite building of his that he built that you like the most?
Not really. I would have kind of worked with him when I was a teenager. So the one that I do remember is the British Airways office or building. Yeah, the offices, and that was near Heathrow Airport. And the reason that I remember that was because it was just massive. It was absolutely huge. It looked like something out of Star Wars when you were standing in it, and you're just like, "Whoa, this is like huge."
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be kind of a memorable one, I suppose.
That's cool. Let's talk about your school experience. Fill me in on that. How was like grade school? How was middle school or high school? And do y'all do like an additional year? I know this isn't in your region, but I believe in Canada they do like a 13th year or something like that. Fill us in on that information. What's up with the schooling?
Yeah, so basically we have primary school, then we have secondary school. So basically it's just divided in two. So you do kind of the first 6 years, and my schooling, I kind of was, to be honest with you, I was just never interested in school.
Yeah,
so I just didn't care. So I wasn't a particularly good student, and but I did like art. That was my thing. I was like always into drawing and stuff like that, and then I went to secondary school, and that's when you're kind of a teenager and stuff, I suppose, like high school. We wouldn't have a 13th year. We do a thing called transition year, which is kind of halfway in secondary school. And basically what that year is kind of like, you do a lot of work experience and you do kind of modules. So you do kind of like a module that might be photography or filmmaking and things like that. So it's kind of like, not all schools do it here.
Yeah.
My school did it. So that's kind of interesting. So you can kind of get a flavor of, maybe the idea is to kind of spur you on to kind of find out what you would like to do post school.
Yeah.
But you know, I wasn't exactly I wasn't very motivated when I was in school. It was actually I was pretty useless. It was after school that I really kind of like found you know, what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I kind of, but originally I wanted to be a graphic designer. That's what I wanted to do. I was like, my mother was an art teacher, like I was saying, so I was like really into art.
Yeah.
And I thought that graphic design was the way to go, because it's kind of like the, you know, a good earner within the art field. But I did do a kind of a course after school, but then I realized that I didn't really have that much interest in it as I thought. So I kind of discontinued that and started working instead.
Yeah. Did your mother ever teach you in school?
No, thank God she didn't. No. I think she taught my sisters actually.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was okay. Basically, there was the schools I went to. Some of them were actually just all female or all male schools. So I kind of, when my mother was teaching, I was in an all male school.
Yeah.
And then the school I went to then in secondary school was a mixed school with boys and girls, but it was further out. It was in a different town, so she didn't teach there.
All right. Now, the secondary school or your high school, do you remember the mascot for that? Do y'all have mascots in your school base? Let me start that kind of prerequisite that.
Not really. Not like you guys.
Okay.
Not even remotely like you guys.
Yeah, it's wild. Every school here has a mascot, whether it's a Mustang or a Viking or whatever. They're there.
Yeah. No, we wouldn't really do that now. We don't have mascots, but we do have a lot of sports and stuff like that. So we would have like big sports over here. Like my school would have played rugby and then hockey as well. Hockey, right. I don't know. Yeah. And
would that have been would that ice or field?
That's field.
Okay.
Field. Yeah. No ice here. Like literally no ice here. It's all field. So, but my school was big with hockey. Actually, it was like very big. They had a rugby team, but I don't think they were very good. But hockey, rugby. We also did basketball. Was kind of big in Ireland as well. Trying to think what else. Football, obviously, soccer. You know?
Yeah.
And then what else? We also have a thing called Irish soccer, which is basically Irish football, it's called GAA, which is basically where you kick the ball and you handle it as well.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like Gaelic Irish football.
I got you.
Then we also have a thing called hurley, which is basically it's kind of like a hockey stick that you hold in your hand and you hold the ball and then you kind of like hit it to each other, and they're kind of like our kind of traditional Irish games, and they're vicious.
Yeah,
they're like to kick the shit out of each other. It's like it's full on, but so I kind of dabbled in kind of some of that stuff, but I wasn't very kind of sports orientated. It wasn't really my bag.
Yeah. Do you follow any sports now? Teams or anything, clubs or anything like that?
No, not at all. No, not at all. It's big here though. Like soccer would be huge here.
Yeah, definitely.
Rugby, all those sports I was saying are huge here. Tennis, things like that. But no, I played a bit, but I had friends that were like, playing on teams and like really good football players and stuff like that. But I just wasn't really my bag.
Cool. All right. Let's see. All right. A day in the life of M1. What's the average day for you from start to finish? What does that look like?
The average day for me, I suppose, our work, obviously. So I'm a sound engineer. That's what I do as my day job. Okay. So basically, I work in a studio. It's kind of I cycle to that. So I cycle to and fro from that every day. So it's up the road. But basically, we kind of work on everything that So we work on TV, podcasts, advertisements, that kind of thing. So I kind of do that day to day, and then. Basically, if I'm not doing that, then I'm making music. That's literally what I do. So my life kind of revolves a lot around audio and music.
Yeah.
And and then when I'm not doing that, then it's just watching movies and stuff like that. But
cool.
That's pretty much it.
What time does the day start?
My day, I suppose I get up at about 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, get up at 7. We opening up with what are we doing? We stretching, we hitting the coffee, hitting the shower. What are we doing there?
Yeah, coffee, and then get dressed, hop straight on my bike, cycle into work, and then just working, and then pretty much at that all day, and then back on my bike, back home, cook up dinner, and then probably watch TV or something like that, and then to bed.
I got you. You cook a lot for yourself, or you go out to eat?
We cook a lot here. Yeah, myself or my wife. Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah.
And then, what's the name of the studio you work for? Can you share that with us if you want to?
It's called Lockheed Butler Studios.
Okay.
So it's kind of in Southern Ireland here. So, it's kind of there's myself, another engineer, and then Lockheed is actually the owner. So it's called. He named it after himself.
Nice.
So
I got you. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's take it back down memory lane a little bit more. Do you remember the name of the street you grew up on?
Yeah, you know what? I actually don't. I had a few streets, to be honest with you. So
Yeah, hit us with a couple of them.
So basically, I grew up in a place called Bray. So Bray would be the name of the town, and then I also grew up in another place called Winegates, which is basically between Bray and Greystones, and that it doesn't really have a street because it's basically countryside. You know, across from me was a big forest, so I grew up with a big forest and a lot of kind of trees and stuff around for me. So it was very kind of countryside, really, and next to this town called Bray. Basically, and Bray would be like a seaside town, kind of south of Dublin. So it'd be about a 40-minute train ride, basically. You get a thing called the Dart here, which is kind of a train that everybody uses. Yeah.
That sounds nice. Countryside and also coastal side. Now, I dig that for sure.
Yeah, it was nice growing up there. Actually, it's a very nice place to grow up because you have access to a lot of kind of nature and stuff like that. And we'd always be outside, you know, when we were kids. Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the grocery store that your mom or your parents used to shop at? Grocery, supermarket, anything like that?
I am trying to think now. So the supermarkets we have here are, what do we have? I suppose we have a thing called Tesco, which is actually from the UK. So that probably was big when I was a kid. That's just a supermarket.
Yeah.
And then there's like loads of like kind of local little stores as well in where I lived. There was a veg shop, which I think I don't even know what. I don't think it even had a name. It was just a vegetable shop.
Yeah.
So that everybody used to go there and you get a lot of kind of groceries and stuff like that. So you can kind of like, Ireland is a funny place because it has a lot of kind of big chain kind of supermarkets, but then a lot of kind of like local groceries and things like that.
Independent stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, Ireland is obviously the big kind of thing here being in so green is actually farming. So it's a lot of kind of like, there's a lot of dairy farms here. There's a lot of beef farms, but dairy would probably be actually the biggest thing in this country. Okay. And then kind of, there's a lot of veg and stuff like that. Yeah. And in you know, within the last kind of, I suppose, you know, 20 years, it's become very trendy to have like kind of local produce and things like that. Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of good kind of, you know, options for kind of getting groceries and things like that here.
Yeah, I think that's been a big trend. I don't know. We see that a lot here in the States. It's huge. Got your little Saturday, Sunday farmers market and a lot of independent picklers or growers or milk producers and whatnot. So that is a trend, a rising trend. Yeah. Let me hit you with this question. Do you remember your first car or the first family car?
The first family car? Well, I know the first car that we had, myself and my wife, was a Golf, a VW Golf. Okay. Which was like, I can't remember what year that was. Must have been in 98, I think. 1998.
What color
VW
was that?
Golf. That was a black
right.
Golf. It was a lovely car, actually. It's a really, really, really nice car. That kind of era of Golf was just like, its shape and everything was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first car that we had. And then I'm trying to think about my family car. God, I can't really remember the first one now. I don't really remember the first one. I know my father always had company cars, so he used to have company cars. So he had like Ford Mondeos and things like that. Yeah. Not very nice cars. They're not the cars in this country. There is some nice cars, but like when you go to the States, you know, it's like you guys have like all your kind of, you know, American kind of, know, Mustangs and all that kind of stuff. They're beautiful. Like, I mean, I've been to the States a lot, and the last time we were there, myself and my wife, we kind of did we rented a car and we basically went all the way through California.
Okay.
So we were on the freeways, and just the cars we saw when we were over there were just amazing. Like loads of like kind of, you know, vintage pickups and things like that have been restored, and they're just incredible.
Definitely. What do you usually like? Where do you usually come to when you come to the United States?
So I've been to New York probably the most. So I've been there about, I don't know how many times, maybe 5, 6 times, something like that. And then I've also been to LA once. And then the last time we were there, what I was talking about was actually on our honeymoon. So we basically flew into New York. We stayed there for a few days, and then we flew over to San Francisco. And then we got a car and we traveled all the way down to LA, and then we went to Palm Springs. We were in, where else were we? We were, I can't actually remember how many places, but we traveled all the way down anyway. We kind of stopped in each kind of area. So I really like kind of the east and the west coast. And then we went to that festival, music festival, Bonnaroo. We went there one year as well. That's in Manchester, I think, isn't it? It's near there somewhere. Yeah. Somewhere like that. Yeah. So east and west coast a lot.
When you were in San Francisco, did you get to check out the Golden Gate Bridge or Alcatraz?
Yes, we went to Alcatraz actually.
Very nice.
Yeah, it was very cool. I have to say, it was really surreal to be there. For me, for us for me personally, anyway. I grew up on a lot of movies and kind of like music and stuff like that from the States. So kind of, I suppose, like a big one that I always think about in regards to San Francisco is the Dirty Harry films with Clint Eastwood.
Sure.
And like, so much of his stuff, obviously he's a big kind of, lover of San Francisco and all that kind of stuff. So it was very surreal to be there and kind of see the things you've seen in movies, basically,
Yeah.
So it was very cool.
That's true. All right. One more question, like personal one-on-one question. Do you remember your first concert that you went to?
Yes, I do. So basically there was a concert. So this was back in 1994. I went to a concert called Sunstroke, which was in Dublin, here in Ireland.
Okay.
And so basically the lineup for that was Frank Black of the Pixies.
All right.
Helmet, the band Helmet, Ice Cube, and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then a few others as well. So those kind of, at the time, I would have, my first kind of music would have been like, punk rock, heavy metal, that kind of thing, and a little bit of hip hop, but not as much as when I got older. So, but that was like a incredible concert. And Helmet, actually, when I saw them, they were like absolutely brilliant live band, like absolutely like incredible.
Yeah.
That
sounds like a pretty stacked up bill, man. That's cool. I dig that.
Yeah, it was rare, actually, to be honest. And in this country at the time, there's a few festivals and stuff like that. Now there's like loads of concerts and stuff, but at the time it was quite rare to have something so, have so many kind of groups on it and stuff.
Cool. All right, man. Well, let's. I want to segment over to something. This one's new. I've only asked this to a couple of people. Freaks and geeks, get ready for this one. This one's called "A Sandwich is a Sandwich is a Sandwich." M1, you like sandwiches? How you feel about those?
I do like sandwiches, yes.
All right. So I didn't share the ones with these, but this is just a rapid, one versus one. Now, ideally, this is the best of whatever sandwiches is. I'm going to ask about your most preferred one, and at its like best quality also. This is going to be pretty fast. We're going to figure out something. All right, this is the sandwich off with M1. All right, M1, turkey sandwich or egg salad sandwich?
Oh, egg salad.
Egg salad or chicken salad?
Egg salad.
Egg salad or tuna salad?
Egg salad.
Egg salad or ham sandwich?
Ham sandwich.
Ham sandwich or peanut butter and jelly?
Ham sandwich.
Ham sandwich or fluffernutter? That's also like, I think, marshmallow.
Oh, ham sandwich. Yeah.
Ham sandwich or caprese?
Oh, caprese.
All right, caprese or chopped beef?
Caprese.
Caprese or sliced beef?
Caprese.
Caprese or pulled pork?
Pulled pork.
Oh, pulled pork or grilled cheese?
Oh, grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or BLT?
Oh, that's hard. Grilled cheese.
All right, grilled cheese or pastrami?
Oh, I do like pastrami, but grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or roast beef?
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or French dip?
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or Reuben?
Oh, that's grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or torta? That's like a Mexican thing down here.
Oh, I've never had it, so I'll have to say grilled cheese.
All right, grilled cheese or Cuban?
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or muffaletta?
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or gyro or gyro?
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or chicken shawarma?
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or Monte Cristo?
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or Philly cheesesteak?
Oh, grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or fried chicken sandwich?
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or po' boy?
Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or lobster roll?
Oh, God. Grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese or club?
Oh, club.
All right. Club or banh mi?
Club.
Club or meatball sub?
Club.
Club or Italian sub?
Club.
Club or bacon, egg, and cheese?
Club.
And the last one, club or bao buns?
Club.
All right. M1's a club guy. Very nice. Very nice. Let's ask this one. Where's the go-to club for you, club sandwich in Ireland?
Oh, go-to club sandwich in Ireland. There's a place called the Westbury, which is kind of a hotel, actually, and they do a club sandwich. It's incredible.
All right. Nice. Little recommendations. We're going to stick with the recommendations theme on this one, still with the food, and then we'll taper off on this one. It's a big food podcast here. Sometimes. Doesn't always try to be, but, I can speak on food all day long. I think a lot of people can speak on food all day long.
True,
So,
very true.
In Ireland, what's the best restaurant in your area?
Ooh, the best restaurant. Actually, you know what? Ireland has, Dublin and Ireland in general has gotten very good in regards to food. We for years we weren't so good, but we kind of in the last kind of 10 years or whatever we've really come up. I'm trying to think what's a good restaurant. There's an amazing. What is it called now? There is. There's a really good place near us called Little Forest. It's a kind of a pizza place. It's really nice.
All right. What's your go-to meal there?
Their pizzas are amazing. They make their own cheese, so it's really, really good.
What's the go-to like pie? We talking pepperoni? We talking veggie? What are you thinking there for you?
For me, just straight up margarita is actually really nice. Just really simple.
Yeah.
Just because they're, as I said, they make their own cheese, so it's like really kind of sour, kind of tasting, really nice.
Yeah. What about the best coffee spot in your area for you?
It's a place called Hatch, which is in the next kind of town to me. It's lovely.
All right. Best late night spot.
Late night spot. There is a place called the Kingston. It's kind of a hotel down the road from me. That's really nice.
All right. Best underrated spot.
Best underrated spot. Best underrated spot. Probably the Kingston as well, actually.
Best burger in Dublin.
Best burger. There's a place called Bunsen Burger, which is really good.
Right. So I like the name. Like the name there. Best noodle spot.
Best noodle spot. There is a place called I forgot the name of it now in Dún Laoghaire, which is another town beside me. It is called. Give me 1 second. I'll find it.
Go for it. We love the Dublin take too.
It's called Soup.
Soup. All right.
Yeah.
I hope they serve soup there. Let's see. All right. So you're talking best date night spot. What you got there?
The Kingston again.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah.
Best wings.
Best wings. I don't know. I don't really eat wings actually, so I wouldn't be 100% on that. Probably. There is a place called Kyoto, Asian street food place in Dún Laoghaire as well, down the road. That's pretty good, yeah.
All right. Why do we not eat wings?
Why do I not eat? Just don't. Yeah, just not really.
They're good.
Not really big here.
I got you. Best bakery.
Best bakery. Probably the Hatch place as well that I mentioned earlier. They do kind of baked breads and stuff like that. It's really nice.
All right. Let's talk about the bar. Best bar you got there.
The best bar. There is a place called Grogan's in Dublin that everybody likes.
Good. Yeah. Best street food.
Best street food. Actually, there's a food market that happens in a park in Dún Laoghaire. So anything from there is really nice. Right. They have like multiple kind of places. It's really good.
Cool. Best French fries in your area.
Oh, best French fries. That Bunsen place again.
Okay.
Really good.
Yeah. I only threw that one out there because sometimes the best fries are not at the best burger spot, but sometimes they are.
Yes.
Let's see. What's the best halal spot in your area? I got halal down there?
Not really, no.
Okay.
No. No, there's not really, not that I know of anyway.
All right, all right. Best seafood in your area.
Best seafood. Well, not necessarily seafood as a restaurant, but there's a place called George's Fish Shop, which
Okay.
actually sells seafood. So you can actually get it yourself there. It's really good.
All right. Let's talk about barbecue. You got barbecue out there? Best barbecue in the area?
No, we're not really big barbecue kind of people here.
Texas is huge on barbecue, but that's the only reason I'm bringing it up.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah.
Thai food. We got Thai food out there?
Yeah. I was actually only talking about that earlier. There is a Thai food place just near me, and I can't remember the name of it again, but it is Nara. That's what it's called. Yeah.
What about pho or Vietnamese spots? I got anything going on out there?
Not really. I mean, we're not as Vietnamese food. I have to look this up.
It's all good.
See if I remember. Oh yeah, there's a place called Po Ta.
Okay.
Po Ta. Yeah.
All right. What about a bagel spot? What's a good bagel spot out there?
Bagel spot. There used to be a really nice bagel spot in Dublin, and I can't remember what it's called. We're not that great with bagels either. Let me have a look. Oh, there's a bagel. There's a place imaginatively called the Bagel Company. Actually,
Okay.
They do bagels.
All right, last food one here. What restaurant do you want to try the most that you haven't tried? Doesn't have. Sure. Let's stick with Dublin for sure.
Okay. Well, actually, I was going to say Texan barbecue. There you go. I haven't had that. So
Hit us up. Hit myself up if you're ever in the area. It's wild, but go for it.
And then in regards to here, I've pretty much tried everything that I want to try. To be honest, there's nothing really particularly that this country anyway.
I gotcha. Nice. Well, thank you for the those food recommendations and your opinion on that. We dig that here. Let's talk about cartoons. All right, really quick question: favorite cartoon as a kid and favorite breakfast cereal.
So favorite cartoons. There's a few, but I suppose there was one called Mask. I don't know if you remember that. That was been in the 80s. That was like kind of. That was good. And then Transformers was good and things like that. Kind of like the classic 80s stuff.
Yeah. The Mask one, you're not talking about like the one based off the Jim Carrey movie, are you?
No.
Okay, all right.
It is oh man, what are they called?
I don't remember Mask.
Yeah, probably a little bit before your time. It was about kind of like these guys in they're like a kind of mobile armored strike.
Oh,
command.
I see you there. Yeah. All right, I got you.
And they're in like kind of vehicles and stuff like that, and they're like kind of heroes. I think it was actually developed by a toy company in order to sell their toys.
Yeah.
So it was kind of all based around that, but the toys were big here. And then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that was huge here.
Sure.
And then The Simpsons, actually.
Okay, all right. Who's your favorite Ninja Turtle?
Favorite Ninja Turtle? Michelangelo.
All right. How'd you feel about the latest movie?
I didn't catch the latest movie. The last one I saw was the one with Megan Fox in it. Those ones, I think they were Michael Bay ones. I didn't really like those.
Yeah. That the animated one's not bad, man. It's heavy on the Nickelodeon, heavy on the animation. While it is like a more younger tale of the Turtles, I think it was the best rendition so far in the past couple of years. I like it.
Yeah,
have you seen that they have that? There's another one in the works, right? Last Ronin. TMNT Last Ronin. That's more of like an adult approach, PG-13 and/or R approach to TMNT. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'd be good. Isn't it Seth Rogen? Didn't he have something to do with
Seth Rogen was on the animated one. Seth Rogen, Jackie Chan, Ice Cube played. Who'd Ice Cube play? He played Superfly. Was the main antagonist there. Yeah. Wow. So it was a good one, man. I dug it. Check it out. If you're down with the animation, that one was a good little cut film. So definitely a little recommendation there. Cool.
Nice.
What about that cereal? Hit me up on that.
Cereal. We had Frosted Flakes.
Cool.
They were like kind of coated Frosted Flakes. They're always like them.
Tony the Tiger type stuff,
Yeah, that's exactly
That's
it.
it.
Yeah.
They're great. All right. Aside from vinyl, do you collect anything?
I suppose runners, trainers, shoes.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Let's move that
Yeah,
question to the top. All right. Music and just the hip hop, like, I don't want to call it culture, but you could call it culture. There's shoe appreciation is there. I myself, being the 512 foot doctor, that name comes from a great appreciation and collection of shoes. So what are you into, my guy? Or do you got anything on right now?
So I'm wearing a pair of Puma suedes. So I'm big into Puma suedes at the moment.
All right.
So when I was kind of, the big thing for me would have been, when I was younger, I used to skateboard, so I was like into skate shoes. So it was like all sorts of skate shoes and stuff like that. But really, when I got into my kind of 20s, I started buying Nike Air Max. So I had every type of Nike Air Max you could think of. So
what's your favorite Air Max model?
Probably the kind of classics, that kind of era. I had a pair that were like black leather with a wine kind of winey kind of stripe on them that were really, really nice.
I myself don't like the 95s. They're very chunky and they're very, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a 95 guy. Anything else I can kind of come around to. I like the ones for sure, 97s. I like the current stance they're kind of taking with the Max, or what are I don't have any. I bought my girlfriend a couple of pair, like the 2020s. The I forget what the latest Air Max names are, but the technology has definitely come full throttle. Instead of just supporting like the heel, now we're supporting the entire layout of the foot. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, Air Max 1 would have been kind of the main one that I would have kind of preferred, I have to say. But I didn't like the 95. I did have a couple of pairs of them, but Air Max 1 were kind of more classic, that way.
Yeah. Back to Puma. Did you ever get down with the SanDiscs? That's the only Puma that I have, the SanDiscs in the Dashin colorway. They were also corked SanDiscs.
Oh, no, I don't know those ones, actually.
So those have they don't have a lace system, but they have this tension, like wire tension system that revolves around the disc, and it's right on the top of the tongue, and you just rotate it for tension or loosen it to get a looser fit on the shoe. They're pretty cool.
Nice.
I dig them, and I like the cork too. The true reason I picked them up is because I have a wiener dog, a Dashin, and I was like, I got to have those for the guy. That's it there. What else on shoes? What we got? We talked about some Pumas. We talked about some Nikes. What are you getting down with, like Asics or New Balance, Sauconys, Jordans? Anything else out there? Any other Nikes or anything?
No. I was literally primarily an Air Max guy for many, many years, and then actually Vans. I love Vans.
Yeah.
So I've had all types of Vans. Chino. Was it called Chino? I think, and then slip-on Vans, kind of classic Vans I love as well. But I'm very much kind of, I'm more kind of a tennis shoe kind of guy at this stage.
Yeah.
So I don't like things with a lot of padding anymore. Mm-hmm. So I kind of prefer things that are kind of a bit more simple. So that would be kind of my go-to.
So is the Puma Suede your current life shoe at the moment? I gotcha.
Oh, completely. Yeah. I had a kind of a green pair, which I thought were very Irish.
Yeah.
So they were kind of like my favorite, but I have a black pair at the moment. I've had like kind of few different colors.
Are those the XXL ones? Those are we talking about? I think so.
Yeah, I think so. They're kind of like classic 70s kind of hip hop shoe. Alternative to the Cortez. Yeah. Nike Cortez, basically.
No, those are cool.
Nike Cortez, I think, were the big kind of early 80s shoe.
How do you feel about this latest like collaboration craze with Puma and a lot of animation studios? I noticed Puma dropped these like Dexter's Lab basketball shoes recently.
Oh, cool.
They've also collaborated with Pokemon. They recently they dropped a capsule of Pokemon Pumas, but and not just to limit it to Puma, but you see these animators finally collaborating with all these shoe labels. You see it a lot in Vans as well. They've done SpongeBob. They've done Toy Story. They've done countless other, a lot of Disney. And I know there was like even in Adidas, we saw a South Park collaboration. What's your thoughts on that? The collaboration there.
Yeah, I like them. I mean, my friends actually would be very into the kind of Vans collaboration. I know they did a lot of kind of like horror kind of movie ones that a friend of mine was very into. And then, yeah, I like them. I like my things to be a bit more kind of a bit plainer, if you know what I mean. I like a lot of classic stuff. I'm very into kind of the classic kind of stuff. Jordans and stuff like that as well. I've never had any Jordans, but I've always liked them. And then what was the other ones that I really liked? I suppose New Balance. I've never had a new pair of New Balance actually.
Not bad. They're not bad.
Yeah. I think they look very comfortable and stuff like that. But I think they are, well, obviously they're huge in the US, and they're kind of in the last kind of 10 maybe or less years they've become popular in this country, but they weren't huge actually. Nike and Adidas would be huge in this country. Really, really big.
Cool.
And Adidas, I've had a lot of pairs of Adidas as well over the years.
Love a Samba, dude. Love a Samba. General shoe. But I'm not big on shell toes. Shell toes are not comfortable to me. I don't know what's up with it. Whether it's the sole or whether it's the toe box itself. I don't know.
I had a pair of those when I was much younger, but I didn't really like them either. But again, another classic kind of hip hop shoe as well.
Are there any shoes in the coming near future that are going to release that have caught your eye?
Not really, no. I like everything. I tend to kind of go off on my own and look backwards a bit when it comes to things. So I'm kind of more, that's why I have suedes at the moment, because I was like, oh yeah, I did have them years ago, but then I didn't have them in a while, and I was like, oh, they're classics. I need to get a pair of those. So I kind of would be more like that. I don't really pay attention to too much to stuff that is coming out as such. I'm kind of more of a, I like to kind of go off and kind of discover things on my own kind of thing. So I'm kind of, but I did actually, speaking of kicks, I watched the recent Nike movie about them signing Jordan to the first collaboration. I can't remember what that's called. It's got Matt Damon in it and Ben Affleck.
Air. I think it's called Air.
Yeah. That was really good. It was really, really interesting, actually. But yeah, Jordans would have been big again in the US. We wouldn't have had them kind of here as much. But they have some incredible kind of
for sure
looking shoes.
They do. Yeah. There's a lot of Kicks documentaries out there on Netflix and on the internet. Some good ones. I think there's one of my favorites called Just for Feet, I think, or Just for Kicks. I forget on that one. It might be Just for Kicks. That one's really good. That one's really retro on the whole, early, or I guess late 80s, 90s East Coast craze of what was going on with shoes. I think they kind of dabble in a little bit into the West Coast craze with shoes as well. But that one's more like a very retro take on sneakers and whatnot. The whole, I forget what those Jordans were. They're gonna, Freaks and Geeks are gonna kill me for this one. Those recent Jordans that came out, they were almost like stashed away. I forget what they were called. I'm not going to look it up though. But they were shoes that a seller would, put off in the back and kind of forget about because they weren't at a high sale rate, and then take them out later. Yeah, I forgot what that term was called, but it's all right. We're going to move it on here.
Dead stock. So it was called dead stock?
No, I don't think it was called dead stock. I forget. Man, what is let me see. Jordan 1. Lost and Found were the ones, I believe. Yeah, Lost and Founds. And that whole theming of it itself was that back in the day when when the one first came out, it wasn't a sellout. They weren't highly favored shoes, and they would shoe store owners would get this stock in, put them on clearance, not sell. The whole stock would just flop. They'd go to the back, and then at some point in time, Joey whatever would come up looking for these shoes, and hey, I got some in the back, and at a cheaper rate. So I guess it was just a Kind of like an homage to the fact that at one point in time these shoes were flops and didn't catch on. But it's a cool shoe. It's just a Chicago Jordan 1, but it's got these like road worn hints of wear on the shoe. The box is already like come worn, and I won't even say there's like an old school like 80s 90s like handwritten receipt, the ones that would come on like the 3-ply paper and whatnot. So cool little shoe. But yeah, that's the what I call it, the lost and found. That's one of those there.
Nice. Very cool.
A couple more little random questions here. What movie can you put on and watch over and over and over again?
Over and over again. Quite a few, but actually, do you know what? Recently, what I've kind of gone back to again and again and again is the Straight Outta Compton film,
Okay.
the one about NWA.
Yeah.
And I know it is like obviously the Hollywood retelling of the story, and there is a lot of kind of like truth in it and stuff like that. But it's so entertaining and well done, and kind of like there's such a seminal group. So that one would be a big one for me. There's also a documentary that I love watching called Scratch, which is like kind of about the history of scratching. Yeah, it's a really good documentary, and kind of that's a good one. And then there's lots of films. Back to the Future, for sure. That's a good childhood one. Star Wars, any Star Wars film, basically. What else? Like I love the Alien kind of movies. Kind of early ones.
Definitely. Sigourney Weaver and whatnot.
Yeah, and then Terminator. That's another good one. But then like Martin Scorsese movies.
All right,
like,
what you got there?
Goodfellas.
Definitely. Love some Goodfellas.
Trying to think what else kind of stuff. Like kind of all your classic kind of movies, I suppose.
Yeah.
I pretty much I tend to kind of like rewatch a lot of films.
Yeah.
I'm kind of would be I'm big into movies actually, and I think everybody is though. That's the thing. Like, everybody watches tons of movies. So, but I'm trying to think what other kind of stuff at the moment. Anything kind of like, I wouldn't be a massive horror fan, but I do like the kind of Halloween movies, and I do kind of like the first Scream movie, the first one. Sure. That's really good.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th. I like kind of the schlocky kind of 80s kind of slasher flicks. Yeah. They're kind of good fun.
That's good, man. I get you there. What book belongs on everyone's bookshelf?
Oh yeah. So there is a book by Jeff Chang called Can't Stop, Won't Stop, and that is about basically the origin of hip hop and how it started. And it's a really good read if you're into hip hop, because it actually goes into the kind of like background economically of what happened within New York, and how it was like, how New York was really kind of, poor and kind of run down at the time, and how like, all these kind of, people were left kind of, minority people were kind of left, without a lot to do and no infrastructure and things like that for them to help them kind of, thrive. And so basically out of that came kind of this thing called hip hop. And it's really interesting, because it really gives you the background of how it started, the reasons it started, and kind of, how it formed and then became what it is known as hip hop now, So it's really good read.
That's good. I dig that. Have you read that more than once?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think I've ever read. I'm trying to, but I don't think I've ever done that. Read a book more than once.
Read a book more than once.
Yeah.
No, that would be probably one of the only ones that I've kind of read more than once. Yeah. No, Lord of the Rings, actually. I've read that kind of when I was really young. I kind of read it. Well, mostly read it. I don't think I totally grasped it. And then when I was older, I reread it again.
The whole series, or just the initial one?
The whole series, and the Hobbit as well.
Sure.
That one, that was a big one. I actually preferred the Hobbit when I was younger.
I got you.
Yeah, but they're great books.
Yeah, those are long reads, long detailed, but very good reads.
Yeah. So I didn't totally grasp them when I was younger, but then when I reread them, I kind of understood them more.
Yeah. Do you speak any other languages?
No, not at all. I'm really not good at languages, which is funny because my family on my mother's side, my grandmother was Austrian, so
Okay.
she spoke German, and a lot of my aunts and uncles all speak kind of German and French and multiple languages and stuff like that, and they're very good at languages.
Yeah.
Whereas I like have my cousins, like my cousin lives in Italy and he's like fluent in Italian and German, but I'm just not a good. It's just I'm not good at languages, that way. So, which is terrible. I'd love to speak another language, but no, don't.
It's all good. Let's talk about travel. What's your favorite out of these three? Planes, trains, or automobiles?
Automobiles.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have when you went on that little trip down the coast of California, did you pick out a special vehicle, or if you didn't, what is your ideal road trip or coast trip vehicle?
So that we did actually pick out a car, and that was a convertible Mustang.
All right,
and that was so good to drive.
What color was it?
It was black.
It was black. Was it a 5.0 or was it like a Shelby or anything off the rail like that?
I actually have no
idea. All good. It's all good. But a black Mustang.
It was a beautiful car.
It's not a bad device for travel. I get that. That's nice, man. Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Regions: beach, forest, desert, mountains, or the big city. Where are you going?
To be honest with you, I do love big cities, but I also love all of them except for the desert, maybe.
Yeah.
But I just don't, because I haven't really been to the desert that much.
Yeah.
But it depends on what we're talking about as well. So, in other countries, then usually you're kind of looking for the beach or the big city.
Yeah.
One of the two. But in Ireland, you can kind of get all of that.
Yeah.
Except for the desert, obviously.
Yeah. That's it. That's it, man. All right. So, tell us the freaks and geeks. That's the audience here. Tell us something that we would be surprised to know about you.
Surprised to know about me? That's a good question. I don't really have many surprising facts, I suppose. Well, I suppose if you know me for hip hop, and that's what I do, then you'd probably be surprised to know that I actually really only got into hip hop when I was kind of about 18 years old or 19 years old. So it was actually a later thing for me.
Yeah.
So I always loved music, but I was really a kind of a rock, kind of punk rock, heavily into punk rock.
Yeah.
And rock and heavy metal and stuff like that when I was younger. Really, it was only much later that I got into hip hop. So I always consider myself a later starter with hip hop, and DJing and the culture and all that kind of stuff. So
you like the Ramones?
Love the Ramones. Yeah.
You like the Rolling Stones?
I do. I have specific kind of albums of theirs I like. Them and the Beatles. I always kind of think there's particular albums that I like, but not the whole discography.
I gotcha. Yeah. I gotcha. All right, man. So that was a lot of intimate questions per se. I think while I'm trying to not get even more intimate, this probably does. Let's talk about some music. M-1, do you play any instruments?
Well, when I was younger, like I was saying before, I kind of got into hip hop and stuff like that. I always wanted to play music, so I kind of fancied myself as playing the guitar, and then I kind of went into the bass as well. So I kind of play those, but not very well.
All right.
And the same with piano, kind of keys and stuff like that from being a producer and stuff like that. So I'm better in now, but when I was starting off as a teenager, I wasn't very good. But I suppose that's kind of what I play. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I myself am a guitar player.
Cool.
I don't think I've ever really shared this on this podcast, but I'm a teacher in Texas, and I teach. Just recently started teaching orchestra. That's violin, viola, cello, and bass, which is not the easiest thing in the world. But my primary instrument is guitar and classical guitar. So that's cool, man. That's cool to hear.
Wow.
So this next one is a first for this podcast. We have a podcast hotline, and I'm gonna drop that really quick: 512-900-9226. You can hit that up and call or text. But we do have a message from a listener. So I'm gonna throw this one out for myself and also for you, M1. So This question comes to us from James Santa Cruz of the Dark Side of the Mic podcast. Now, James writes, what made you get into the podcasting world? And M1 for you, what made you get into the DJ world? You want to take this one away, or you want me to open up this one?
No, you can go ahead there. And then
All right. So for myself, James, I got into podcasting. I started listening to podcasting around 2012, 2011. And Joey Coco Diaz was the initial exposure to podcasting, and also Joe Rogan as well, but primarily Joey Coco Diaz. And I want to say around 2020, near like the I don't know, some portion of the pandemic, he was like, I'm stopping the show. And oddly enough, I think September 2nd, September 6th, the day that I started my podcast in 2020 was also the original initial date that Joey Diaz started the Church of What's Happening Now years ago. So to answer that question, Joey Diaz, Joe Rogan, and I guess we could say the pandemic got me into podcasting. That's where I come in. Thanks, James, for the question. And M1, what got you into the DJ world?
So basically, as I said, I kind of was, into music and stuff like that, and I wasn't a particularly good musician. So I used to kind of play, music with my friends. We had little bands and stuff like that, playing punk rock. But it was very hard to get everybody together to kind of play music and do what I kind of wanted them to do. So basically, I started working in a record shop in Dublin, and I basically was like, okay, what's the quickest way for me to make music? That was my ultimate goal, to make music without needing a whole load of people. So I was like, oh yeah, DJing. You can be a one-man band, So basically at the same time, I was getting really, really, hardcore into hip-hop. So that's kind of where it came from. And then I kind of was like, as I became more knowledgeable of hip hop, there's two groups that kind of got me into hip hop really heavily. One was the Wu-Tang Clan, and the other one was Gangstar. Okay. And Gangstar, there's a gentleman called DJ Premier who is the producer and DJ in it, and on every kind of track he would scratch something. Yeah. So kind of I heard that and I was like, okay, I want to know how to do that. So I basically went out, got myself a set of turntables with no clue how to use them, and just went, okay, I listened to DJ Premier and I kind of like copied what he was doing, and that's kind of how I got into the whole thing. So yeah, that's kind of how I started.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's good. Tell us about this SP404. That's like your main little. Is it a DJ pad? What? Forgive me for the the lack of knowledge on the specific name, but tell us about that device. I see you post a lot of videos on that, essentially daily, of things that you're creating. How'd you get on that? Why do you use that? And go for it.
Cool. Okay, so as I was saying, so kind of leading on from DJing, I got to a certain point where I kind of taught myself how to mix and beat juggle and scratch and all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, okay, I want to know more. I want to be able to kind of make my own music and kind of scratch over that and kind of maybe get somebody to rap on it. Yeah. So I basically got myself a computer and some software, and I started on a thing called Reason, which like a lot of people would be familiar with, is a kind of a music making program. Yeah. And I was doing that for a long time, but the only thing about it was like, I was like, it doesn't sound right. So I basically was like, okay, what does everybody use in the hip hop world? And it's an MPC. So I basically went out and I got my first kind of samplers, which was an MPC 1000. And at the time, that would have been kind of the latest kind of hardware sampler at the time. But I didn't like that because it wasn't like the 90s kind of version. Mm-hmm. So I sold that and I got myself an MPC 2000 XL. So that was kind of, it's up on a shelf here beside me, but that was kind of my sampler for, more than 10 years. I made all of my albums on that. But it basically kind of died a little bit and needs to be fixed. And at the same time, I kind of saw people using the SP404, and the SP404 is similar to the MPC it's a sampling workstation. So you basically sample your sound into it, and you can kind of chop it up and play it on the pads. But the thing about the SP404 is it has these particular sound effects on it that you can apply to your beats. And I suppose the kind of really big example of that for me would be Madlib on the album Mad Villain.
Okay.
He would have used the SP404, not this version of it. It would have been kind of, or maybe it was the SP202. But anyway, it was kind of this version of this, and I always loved his sound and the way he made everything kind of very kind of like gritty and kind of there's a real funk to it, and so that's why I got the SP404. So I've been using that now for the last, I don't know, maybe about a year. And I kind of have put the MPC up on a shelf, and I've kind of set it up in the way that I can kind of use it like very similar to an MPC, but then with these added effects. So, but I love the sound from it. It's a really cool kind of little device. You can do a lot with it.
Yeah, it's very unique. Tell us about your turntable setup as well.
So I have Technics 1210s. I've had them, since whenever, I can't remember.
Yeah.
They're probably about 20 years old at this stage or more. But I've had those, and I was using a Vestax PMC05 Pro 2 mixer, which would be a kind of a big, I think, kind of late 90s, 2000s kind of DJ mixer. It's a scratch mixer, 2-channel mixer. Really simple, 2 channels, excellent crossfader and stuff on it, great for scratching. But that actually just died the other day, so I need to, at the moment I'm using kind of a Newmark kind of backup mixer that I have, so I'll have to get a new mixer, and I'm kind of looking into that at the moment. So but that's my kind of my setup. Very simple. I just like 2-channel scratch mixers. I don't like loads of effects, and I don't like loads of channels. I don't need them for what I'm doing.
That Technics 1210 looks very similar. Is there an Audio Technica that looks just like that? I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, it's odd because even like the button layout looks almost identical. I haven't really shared this with you. I shared with you a little bit that I started a radio I have a 1 hour radio program on a station that just started up last Saturday here. So I've kind of ventured into. Is it DJing? I think it is, but I'm for me it's spinning plates. So I'm just trying to not let anything catch on fire and just keep the show running from minute 1 to minute 60. But it's a challenge for sure, especially like I'm doing it with usually just playing one track off a record and then going to record 2 and then going to CD 1 and going to CD 2 and then going back. So it's a lot of stuff going on at one time, but it's a very interesting, very very hands-on, and it's something that I felt like I was speeding through it. So on my next run, I just gotta slow it down.
You get that as you kind of do it. Like what you're talking about is like a radio DJ, which is also a disc jockey. You know what I mean? But within DJing, there's multiple different kind of forms of it. So, but it's all kind of, the number one thing is like, whether or not you love music. Like that's for all of this kind of stuff is like, and because I think a lot of people kind of, because I can scratch and I can do that kind of stuff, and people are like, oh, I can't do that. But it's like, yeah, but what is the other thing that you're bringing to it? And it's like what you're talking about. You're kind of doing multiple things, and you're talking about keeping the show going, which is also really, like you said, is a very hard thing to do. Fill up that hour with good song selections and keep it going and have a nice kind of run to it and stuff like that. But radio DJing is like, I mean, another vital thing. It's like, I listen to a lot of kind of music podcasts, and I get a lot of music from it. And, it's like, it's a really cool way of kind of, hearing stuff that you might normally not hear.
Yeah.
Certainly hip hop is a really good kind of music because it takes in so many other types of music. So it turns you on to like so many different types of music. So I listen to way more than just hip hop. And like radio is and podcasts and things like that, they kind of like feed that as well. And there's definitely a new era of when I was kind of younger, radio was very much like it was very kind of, there was no podcast, it was now it's very DIY. People can do it from their, their sitting room or whatever, and anybody can do a podcast, and it's really cool because you get to hear a lot more, and it's kind of opens up the world for a lot of people.
Yeah. Do you have any podcasts that you would recommend for the freaks and geeks out there?
Podcasts I recommend. There is a podcast called Guerrilla Grooves Radio. That's a really good one from New York in the Bronx. That's a hip hop radio one. There's another one called Flip the Script Radio as well. That's another good hip hop one. There is the Dad Bod Rap Pod. That's a good kind of hip hop one, but it's more of a discussion kind of like, so it's not as much music. It's like interviews and discussions and stuff. They have a really interesting kind of take on things. I like their taste as well. They're kind of like rap nerds. I think that's what they kind of kind of say about themselves, but which is interesting. And then I do like more mainstream stuff as well. Like I love Drink Champs. I like listening to that, which is interesting because it's kind of like they have very mainstream, obviously big kind of hip hop dudes, but it's always very interesting what they're chatting about. Yeah. So there'd be a few. And then obviously there's like, I used to listen to a lot of Mark Maron, his podcast. Sure, funny stuff. And then I know you were talking about Joe Rogan earlier, and who was the other guy you were talking about? Diaz?
Joey Coco Diaz.
Joey Coco Diaz. And I know that they're stand-up comedy kind of guys as well, aren't they? Yeah. I wouldn't be as familiar with them. I know what they look like and stuff like that, but Joe Rogan, obviously, I would kind of know even more. I think everybody knows Joe Rogan because of his podcast. And I've only ever kind of watched clips and stuff of him, but I'm trying to think now if there's any other podcasts. That's kind of it. I like to kind of like, go into different ones. I like movie podcasts, actually. There's some good kind of movie ones. There's one called the Post-Mortem Podcast. It's actually stopped after, 20 years or something like that. But it was really good. That kind of was like more horror movies and stuff like that. Yeah. And, you don't have to be into those type of movies to listen to it. It's very interesting, though. Yeah.
There's one, I forget what's the name of it. It's called Talking During Movies. And that's a really good one. That host and the guest, they queue up the same movie. If they're in the same place, sure, or if they're not, they just queue it up. They silence it, and they just talk over and have a podcast, but at the same time, if there is a segment that, sparks interest for conversation, they'll take a little time to talk about it. So that's cool. I'll have to check out some of the ones you shared with us. And Freaks and Geeks, y'all do the same. So, M1, where do you buy your records at?
So I generally don't go to record shops anymore. I used to work in record shops. So I used to work in Terra Records here in Dublin. So I got a lot of records there. And now I buy them all online. So I kind of go... Discogs is a really big thing. So Discogs is like you can kind of get anything you want on that. Yeah. I also use another shop, but they sell stuff. It's in Germany. It's called HHV Records. Mm-hmm. They're really, really good, actually. They actually have, at the moment, they have this kind of label that's reissuing loads of 90s hip-hop albums. It is called 90s Tapes. That's what it's called. That's really cool as well. But yeah, mostly I kind of go on and I kind of would... listen to stuff online and then kind of, buy it based on that. That way. I used to go to record shops, and then when I was in other countries as well, I used to love going to record shops in other countries and just going, okay, what can I find here? And just buying random records and stuff. Yeah. But mostly online these days,
Cool. All right, so let's talk about the album of the week. Now, I've got one locked and loaded. If you want me to go on, I'll do that.
Go for it,
But one album that you've really been into lately and why you've been into it. But for myself, I chose an album and I got it right here. I'll show it to you. This is an album by Buddy Guy. Let me see. It's called Stone Crazy. Big, super heavy blues album. And electric guitar all day long. And I guess the reason I chose this one, it's one of my favorite Buddy Guy albums for sure, but I used the first track on this one called I Smell a Rat, and I opened up that radio show with that song. I really like that song. That song's about like 9-10 minutes long. Heavy blues, heavy electric guitar on that. Some good, powerful vocals and whatnot. So, Freaks and Geeks, check that one out. Buddy Guy, Stone Crazy, excellent album. I was just scrapping through some bins at Half Price Books one day, and a guy next to me was like, "Listen, you need to get that album right there. Put down that other one you got and get that one because you're gonna miss out if you don't." So, but
Wow.
for me, that's my album of the week. And I also want to give a shout out to Cactus Records in Houston, Texas. I was there last week, and I picked up two new vinyls that I was looking for, some Albert King and some Freddie King. But M1, for you, what is the album of the week?
So at the moment, I've been listening to a lot of stuff, but I have recently gotten into Tupac.
Okay.
I never really listened to Tupac. I was obviously familiar with who Tupac was, but I never really delved very deeply into him and his stuff. And lately, I've been listening to All Eyes on Me, which I actually think is a really, really good album. I think it's just that the production on it. There's a guy called, I think it's Johnny J, who produced a lot of stuff for him. Let me have a look at that. He is an incredible producer, and he produced a lot of stuff on it, and it's really, really good.
No, Tupac's some good stuff. It's hard for me to compare Tupac or Biggie, but Tupac's catalog is just extensive and huge, and there's so much more there. Not to take anything away from Biggie, but I don't know. It's when that question gets brought up all the time, I have to think about the content that Tupac has in comparison. He's got a whole lot more in his little bank there.
Yeah, I have to say I was always a Biggie guy.
Yeah.
I was like East Coast hip hop. Like I always loved West Coast stuff, but I loved kind of particular stuff. Like I loved Compton's Most Wanted and NWA and Ice Cube and that kind of stuff. But Tupac was never really kind of dug him. And it was actually, I think, because at the time, you know, after he passed away, there was a lot of kind of like remixes of his tracks and albums and stuff, and they kind of tarnished his kind of discography a little bit, I think. And if you can actually find a lot of those songs in their original form with the original beats, and they're way better. They're kind of like, and that's the only thing I'd say about him. It's just sometimes his beats were kind of not up to par, and that kind of took away from it. Because I would obviously listen to the kind of the beat more first. Not more, but first, and then the MC next. Yeah. So that's why I would be like more. But now I kind of like, I've delved more into his discography, and I really appreciate it. So I kind of see where, you know, how good he is, basically.
Yeah. Do you have any imported records or like, I don't know, I have a French record. It's a French pressing, but it's an American artist. Do you have anything like that?
I have a lot of kind of different kind of, I suppose the kind of most interesting ones I have are like kind of Japanese records. I have a lot of Japanese soundtracks and things like that. So I have a lot of Japanese kind of jazz, funk kind of stuff.
I like how they position like titles and text vertically on the like the side of the record and whatnot. That's cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, they do. They have kind of a good. It's funny, like Japanese people are obviously very into culture, like it's a very strong thing with them. So they take in kind of everybody else's culture and their own, and they're very kind of obviously, like hip hop is huge in Japan. It's like there's some like really early hip hop that was really good, but then with like Japanese rapping, and it sounds crazy, but it's really, really cool.
Yeah, man. Do you have any colored vinyl or filled vinyl?
I have a lot of colored vinyl, and I've actually released colored vinyl myself, but I'm actually more into kind of straight up black kind of vinyl. I don't know why. I just kind of, it's what I kind of always had. Yeah. But I know now there is a lot of kind of, filled vinyl. And like I saw, there's a guy called Rome Streets, who's a rapper, and he released he has these albums, and basically there's a kind of a razor. He uses a razor as the kind of symbol on it. Yeah. And basically he had like a blood-filled vinyl.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. But I don't really have anything filled as such. But colored vinyl have quite a few of those. Yeah.
Yeah, those filled vinyls are very nice. I have one, but they don't sound as good. They're for sure a lot heavier, and maybe I need to put a weight down, but it's odd because I have the same vinyl, one non-filled and one filled, and they're a lot heavier and they don't sound as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, they can be. It's a little bit, like the thing about vinyl is I never stopped buying vinyl. I've bought it like all my life, and I have a huge record collection. But obviously now it's like vinyl is big again,
sure.
And they kind of like are doing all of these kind of different kind of gimmicks to kind of get people to buy them and stuff like that. And some of it's cool, but then some of it is a bit overkill. It's like but yeah.
There's so many Fleetwood Mac Rumors pressings out there in the world. It's ridiculous. Love the album, but man, that one's out there a lot. All right, man. So let's close this out a little bit. You got any upcoming projects or things that you're looking forward to this summer that you can fill the Freaks and Geeks out on?
Yeah. I suppose the biggest one, I have quite a few things. So I have, I'm kind of tentatively toying on my next solo kind of album. So that would be with multiple different MCs. And then I also, that's kind of like in the works. I'm always kind of doing that on the side. And then I have a collaboration with a guy called Cume, which is spelled QM, and he's from San Francisco. So we kind of have a lot of those tracks done, and he's working away on those. So that'll be at some point. And then I have another project with an Irish rapper, a guy called Genova, I think is how you say it. But basically, we're kind of working on that. He's off kind of doing it. But that'd be my first kind of, ever collaboration with an Irish rapper. So that'll be kind of interesting. And then the one I'm most excited about actually is my collaboration with Baby Astro. So we're doing a whole album together.
Okay.
And it's like, I sent him all the beats and stuff like that, and he's kind of working away on it. And, he has his other projects going on at the moment, so he'll kind of get to that at some point. But the beats, I really kind of, I went a very different direction with it. Yeah. It was like very funk kind of orientated, and he likes a lot of that kind of stuff. He's very much into kind of that type of sound, and so I kind of really tried to tailor it for him. So he has the beats and stuff like that, but I'm really looking forward to that. I have a couple of tracks that he did already, and they came back really, really. They sound really great. So that would be the big one that I'm most excited about. And then the other ones I'm really excited about as well. I'm excited to work with Cube. He'd be kind of someone that I kind of found out about online as well. And he's from San Francisco, and he's part of this group called the Rec League. And they, he's tons and tons of albums. He's a producer himself as well. Yeah. But he has he's a really fun kind of like party kind of rapper. He's brilliant. He's really good at kind of he's very good at, he's really good at choruses and things like that. So it's kind of different again than my usual kind of stuff. And he's been sending me beats, songs back that he's working on and stuff like that, and they're all really good as well. So those two are kind of like my next big kind of things that I'm working on, and then the other things are kind of kind of running adjacent to that. But those two would be probably the next big things.
Hell yeah, man, that's dope. I don't think Astro has any knowledge that I have this coming out, so that'll be something cool for him. And I know him and I have something planned in the near future. I'm going to head on out to San Antonio and do a little day trip there and check something that he's got going on. He used to do this thing called, I think it was called Bodegas After Dark, and he would rent out a bodega and do a little set there, and that was it. I've never seen that done. I thought that was so cool when he did that.
Yeah, you brought that up earlier. He's really good at his rollouts, the way that he does things, and he enjoys it obviously, and he makes beats himself as well, and he's like he's multifaceted. So I'm happy to be working with him, and everything that we've done I've really liked. I just think it's you know. But yeah, no, he's really good at all that kind of stuff. He does. I've been watching. Obviously, I'm all the way over here, but I've seen all of his kind of in stores and things he does, and all of his rollouts. They're really kind of clever and interesting.
Like you said, that's the power of the internet there.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good thing.
Did you see the latest Eminem video? What's it called? Houdini?
Yes, I did. I saw that the other day.
How'd you feel about that?
I mean, I sent it to my friends, and one of my friends was like, "I really like this." And, you know, to be honest with you, I wasn't so into it. I was like, here, you're a bit old to be doing this. But it's fun. It's kind of playful, I think, you know.
I like the idea of it, the whole, you know, bringing the Slim Shady back, because Slim Shady, I don't know, was supposed to be locked away, and that's it. But I think it's interesting. There was a lot of cameos in the video and whatnot, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. Have you ever seen Eminem live?
Eminem, I've never seen live. No, actually, he'd be one of the few ones that I haven't. I think he did play in Ireland actually a few times. So, but no, I've never seen him live. It was funny when I was younger. I used to have a shaved head and I used to bleach it white.
Oh yeah,
and and it was just before Eminem was getting big, and then. Basically, I remember being in a train station one day, and on the platform on the other side, someone shouted out, "Oi, Eminem!" And I just went, "Okay, that's it. I'm going home to shave my head and get rid of this."
That's funny. That's super funny. Yeah, he's going to be in town in Texas in like October for the F1 Formula One races. So I'm definitely going to get a ticket to that. Check him out. It's probably one of the only opportunities I'll ever get.
He'd be good.
Yeah. All right, M1, let's close this one out. You got any shout outs that you want to give? Tell the freaks and geeks where they can find you. Any upcoming important dates or shows that you wanna plug?
So I suppose if you're looking for me, I am on Instagram is what I use the most. So it's at DJ M1 Tracks. And that's where I post kind of everything, and I let everybody know about everything. I'm also on TikTok as well, same handle, and I'm on YouTube as well. And then you can find my stuff on Spotify. Just Google me, and that's pretty much it. I don't really have anything coming up other than those few albums, but I'll post them on those platforms once they're kind of good to go. Cool.
Is Spotify your preferred audio platform for sharing stuff?
No, I really dislike Spotify. But yeah, it's like it's a necessary evil. Put it that way.
You have another one, don't you? What's your? I swear I've listened to
Bandcamp. I use Bandcamp.
Yeah, Bandcamp. Okay, all right. Yeah. Do you mind if I put those links in the show notes?
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
All right, man. I'll do that. Cool. Well, M1, thank you very much for sitting down with us today. The Freaks and Geeks definitely going to dig this, and appreciate you so much, man. I look forward to the works that you got coming out in the future, and definitely going to have to dabble into that.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Man. Well, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one, dude.
You too. Take care, man.
Thank you. You too. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, Freaks and Geeks, that's all she wrote. Once again, I want to thank our guest, DJ M1, for coming on this episode number 46 of the podcast, checking in all the way from Dublin, Ireland, giving us the full Dublin perspective from the mind of DJ M1. Go ahead, hit up the links that I'm going to drop in the show notes, Freaks and Geeks. He's got a whole link tree with so much music, a bunch of social media links on there. He's got his Instagram, he's got his Facebook, his Bandcamp, his SoundCloud. I'm sure I'm missing maybe one or two, but there's so much information, so much music on in that link in the show notes. So don't forget it. Make sure you go follow him on Instagram too. Follow him and support DJ M1 because he's coming out with some bangers. He's coming out with some really good music. Some really good tracks and some really good collaborations with artists around the world. Hit them up. Support the guests, all right, Freaks and Geeks? Thank you for listening. And remember, new episodes of the podcast are released every Wednesday at 6 a.m. Now check it out. Do me a favor and go subscribe to the Doctor's Orders podcast on whichever podcast platform that you prefer. Make sure that you leave a comment and rate the podcast while you're there subscribing. Also, don't forget, we are on YouTube. You can check us out, the Doctor's Orders podcast on YouTube. But you're also going to have all this information embedded in the show notes. Got my links there. Got my Instagram links. Got Buzzsprout links. Got the YouTube links. Got a bunch of stuff there. Hit up the podcast hotline with the question that you have that can be answered on the next show for future guests. 512-900-9226. Again, 512-900-9226. You can call in or you can text. Either one. Let's get these questions rolling. We got a lot of guests coming forward. Let's get some more questions coming through. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and tell a freak or a geek that you know about the podcast. Again, hit me up. We got Controlled Chaos on KLKT 107.9. That's the blues, jazz, and funk hour that I'm running Sunday, 12 noon to 1 p.m. One more time, that is Controlled Chaos, blues, funk, and jazz with the 512 Foot Doctor on KLKT 107.9 FM and online at klkt.org. I'm going to drop that information in the show notes as well. That's just me doing a little DJ blues set. I talked about it a little bit throughout the podcast, so I'd appreciate it. Freaks and Geeks, take a listen to that. I'm doing my best on that. That's a new endeavor, and that's a new venture there as well. So support your boy on that. That's Controlled Chaos with the 512 Foot Doctor. Remember, the Doctor's Orders podcast is a Life or Death Studios production. Freaks and Geeks, until next time, we'll see you on the next one. Don't be late.